Well, we are going to have a bonanza today. We are looking at 4 pitch decks.
I love a good bonanza, Ed.
Yes, bonanzas are always great. Specifically, we're going to be talking about problem, solution, market size. And the reason, as we tell all founders all the time, that problem, solution, market size are kind of like the holy trinity for your pitch decks. And
Yep.
if you can get that figured out, I believe they're all pre-seed decks. And for example, this one right now is raising $1 million and just joined us here at Startups.com, which is fantastic. Thank you very much. Well, let's just reiterate for everybody why problem, solution, market size are kind of like the main cornerstones that you're going to need.
The biggest thing is they're the first three slides in your deck. If they're not the first three slides, please make them the first three slides. Here's specifically why. Number one, if I don't understand what the problem is, the problem that you're trying to solve in your business, then I don't care what your solution is. A lot of times when I say, hey, what does your company do? A founder logically will say, well, we do this for this. And I say, great. But like you're assuming I understand the context of why that matters or why I should care.
Sure.
And when I explain, listen, whenever you give your pitch, if you're sitting next to somebody on an airplane and they say, what do? You always open up with the problem in the market, right? This is the problem. 8-year-olds can't get enough candy. We have a drone that delivers candy right to them wherever they are, right? Like,
Oh, man. Yeah.
exactly, right? But if I say I have a candy delivery drone, that could mean anything, right? But if I tell you exactly what it is, and Ed, I give that one because, as you know, I teach entrepreneurship to middle schoolers,
Yeah.
and that was an actual problem solution, which was amazing. Anyway, but I have to understand two really important parts of the problem before the entire rest of the deck means anything. And you'll see this today. I have to know the size of the problem, like which is essentially your market size. You know, for 41 million people, or people are spending 28 billion a year, and then I need to understand what's the consequence, like what's going wrong, right? You know, these kids are hungry for candy. You know, they want their candy, but they can't get it. It's not around them. So then we talk about the solution, and the solution always follows whatever the problem is. In other words, if we say that the problem is that kids can't get candy when they need it, then our solution is we deliver candy exactly when kids need it. Now, the market size, which is the third part, is the investor saying, damn, that's a huge problem, and that's an incredibly good solution. Is it a big enough market that I would even care? And like, yeah, absolutely. It's whatever billion. And at that point, once you've figured out the holy trinity, as we call it, the rest of the deck smokes. It does amazing, right? If you don't, and you'll see it today, I only glanced at the decks because I wanted to have like a very raw approach.
Sure.
You're going to see immediately what happens when you don't get these three right. We always give this PSA to the, what is it, 4 folks that submitted to us today, Ed?
Yes.
To the 4 folks, you are brave souls. We may make what sounds like criticisms to your deck, etc. Please understand, we're not here to offend you. We're not here to question the quality of you as an entrepreneur. We're trying to make your deck better. That's all. We're trying to take something that you care so much about, that we care about, and we're trying to make it better. That's all. So thank you for letting us do it. Not easy to be able to like send your baby out naked, so to speak. We appreciate you doing it.
To the rest of you brave souls who send me your pitch decks and work with us here at Startups.com, I have many founders that you say to me, well, can't you give me the feedback on the rest of the deck? And I go, no, because we still need to clarify, just as Will said, it makes the rest of the deck academic. So I'm not trying to torture you,
Absolutely.
slow you down. I'm not trying to prevent you from raising funds or stay here longer as a member. I'm literally walking you through the main building blocks to just make sure that you have what you need to be successful. And that's what we're here for, Will. And
absolutely,
we want to help everybody. Let's talk a little bit about investor matching. So I'm just going to show this right now. This is our new tool. And Will, every founder out there listens to this, watches this, can come and upload their pitch deck. We got all the help, the bells and the whistles. Will automate the fundraise. AI will match you with investors, create everything. But let's look at some magic here. I took this BluWing deck that we're going to have, new member.
Oh, you're going to do it for real?
Right? Yeah. And I'm just going to...
Okay, I dig it.
Press the button right now, and it's going to read through. And this is why, well, you want to make sure that the pitch deck has got all the right information because the AI is going to pull from that. Hence, we want to help everybody out there actually set up your pitch deck for success. And just in that little blurb, 2,089 investors.
Let me explain what it just did. We spent a lot of time on this. We basically, here's how it goes. If you're out and you're going to raise money, there are a certain number of investors that you need to talk to. And there's a whole bunch that you don't need to talk to. Like it's like 98 to 2. For every 100 investors, you need to not talk to 98 of them because they make no sense for your business and will be an absolute waste of time. And 2 that you do. Within those 2 out of, a massive universe, we then ranked, which you see in the score, the most likely fits for your business. That doesn't mean they're going to invest, right? It doesn't work like that. It's they match up with what you're doing so damn close at 100%. It's like, dude, this is exactly the kind of firm that you should be talking to. Again, they may look at it and say, we hate it. We're not going to do it.
Well, check this out, like right away. Now let's go back and I just want to show everybody the magic. Right away on the cover, we have revolutionizing regional logistics with on-demand air cargo, AI-driven routing, and embedded insurance in one unified platform. The great part about this is if I go back to the investors that match, check out immediately the first things that we see is logistics, air transportation, right? It's great. Freight service probably included in there. Down at the bottom, logistics, transportation, insurance.
Seaplane Ventures. There's a firm called Seaplane Ventures. It's so specific.
Exactly. And Will, you know what's funny? I gotta share this funny story. Talking to a founder in a cohort today. He said, "Yeah, we have a meeting with this investor." And I said, "Great, never heard of him." And he said, "Why haven't you heard of him? It's in your database. Like it literally is in your investor database." And I said, "My friend, we have investors being added based on research or AI crawling the internet, us doing the research every single day. There's no way I'm going to know all the investors in this. And that's why we have this tool."
No, that actually, this is kind of funny about it. And if you guys are wondering why Ed and I are kind of laughing at this whole process, because Ed and I have been banging our heads against the wall for like 10 years trying to get these answers. And we just released the product like a few weeks ago. And so like, if any of you have ever worked on something long enough or wanted something long enough and you finally got it, Ed and I are like in Christmas right now. Like, this saves us so much time in trying to help you guys. And so I also don't want it to come across like a product pitch. If you use our product, that's great. But if you don't, all these same rules still apply. If you want to go do all this legwork yourself to find these, please don't. But even still, you can go to Crunchbase. You can go to plenty of places to find investors. We don't have like some secret trove of investors you can't get access to.
Yeah, exactly.
What we're doing is just saying, look, they're all out there, but these are the ones to talk to. So the magic here is aligning it with exactly who you should be talking to at your stage, location, industry, everything.
Bill, let's talk about this question that came in chat. I think it's a really good one. Do investors agree to being on your platform, or are you scouring sources and adding them to it? Well, there's a couple things here. One, investors, we get that information from the information that investors actually put out there. So when they get listed in Crunchbase or they put themselves out there, they want to be contacted, which is really important.
We're not giving you people's like home phone numbers kind of thing, right? Like these are, and again, that this is part of the process, right? We go through it and there's a couple things we're looking for. Number one, is this an investor that's out there that seems to be actively looking for investments? Now, there are some investors out there that say they're actively looking and they actually have no money. So that does happen. And again, we sort through some of that. But the other thing too is like, if you're going through this list yourself, like if you're going through Crunchbase, PitchBook, or you downloaded some random thing off the internet, you still don't know which one of those investors has ever responded to an email or that email address or however you're contacting them. We do, because all these people have been using our system for a long time. This new system just got developed, but the system behind it that we've been helping people with manually for a very long time. We've got a voluminous amount of tracking data to be able to say, yeah, this investor, but this is the specific person that actually reads emails, like it opens emails, and that's who you should talk to. Stuff that you'd never be able to find on your own. And why bother, man? Your job isn't to become a research assistant on investors. Your job is to go build your company. Let us worry about that stuff.
Great answer. Great question. Thank you very much, chat, for asking that. Well, let's jump into this pitch deck. So BluWing, revolutionizing regional logistics with on-demand air cargo, AI-driven routing, and embedded insurance in one unified platform. Well, I like it because at least I know what this does, what we're pitching, but some improvements. What do you think?
It assumes some things. It assumes that we need that regional logistics needs to be revolutionized. And I'm not nitpicking. I'm just saying I guarantee the folks that the founders behind this know exactly what the problems are. If I'm reading it for the first time, that does put me in the category, which I like. But when you say revolutionizing, it implies that there's something that needs to be fixed. And you're kind of assuming I know what that is. We've got on-demand cargo, AI-driven routing, embedded insurance in one unified platform. Now, again, I'm not really going to understand why those three things need to be on a unified platform, but this at least gets me in the ballpark.
Right. You do want to slim it down. You're absolutely right. Will, let's just talk about this for a moment because we see founders all the time. They make these really buzzy, hypey statements, right? Like, transforming this industry, and then other statements like, so the financial industry is broken and we're revolutionizing it. Well, investors have heard that. They're not customers. They kind of just zone out. My eyes gloss over, so you don't have to put this stuff in.
Yep. We reduce the time it takes for local cargo transportation by 50% and cut costs by 30%. Something like that, right? Like, that's all I need to know. But let's not overstate the cover page. Let's look at this problem.
Yes, continuing along. Just as said, I just want to harken back. If we go back time machine, Bill said problem, solution, market should be the first 3 slides. Right away, we have a how it works slide. Okay, so founder, just make sure, and everybody out there, there's a reason for that, because nobody cares how it works until they know the problem, the solution. You're setting them up for the market's big enough to get the investor interested. But let's read this. Rural markets are underserved by FedEx, UPS with no access to guaranteed same-day air freight across 250 to 500-mile routes, costing $22 billion in lost time, unmet delivery, SLAs.
Here's what I like about it. Usually I start with what I don't like about it. Here's what I liked about it. I like that it opens up with who the customer is, which are rural markets. Now, you didn't exactly tell me if these are consumers or small businesses or something like that. If that's important, I would have opened up with that. I would have said like SMBs in rural markets kind of thing, or consumers in rural markets. I'd want to talk about that. I would have also opened up with consumers in rural markets are losing $22 billion a year because FedEx and UPS can't guarantee same-day freight across 250 to 500-mile routes. I think that the 22 billion is, I always try to put that at the beginning because I want to tie exactly who's losing it. This is small, but it can add up. Ed, when you look at this problem statement, what part of it jumps out at you?
So the why is they don't have access to guaranteed same-day air freight. Okay, so to me, like, I resonate. I can tell you what doesn't jump out at me. SLAs. I believe that's service level agreements or something like that. Do you know what an SLA?
Always avoid acronyms as best as you can. Even if you think those acronyms are well understood, you run into a whole bunch. I mean, Ed and I see a gazillion decks. We can tell you this all the time. Number one, people often use them and they only make sense to themselves. Number two, sometimes SLA, SMB, et cetera, can have different contexts. You wouldn't think about it, but it's an acronym that actually gets used in a different way. Just generally try to avoid them. That's all.
Right. And what I don't know here, Will, is this $22 billion that's left on the table? Is it $22 billion because they mess up that many trying to deliver? I don't know the full context of this cost. Yeah. Therefore, I can't make a determination.
Correct. I was a little hung up on that. Let's go to the solution and see how they tie it together.
BluWing unlocks a $21 billion market by connecting idle aircraft. Or $2.1 billion. Okay, right? Mm-hmm. Mind my eyes, I'm old. Certified pilots and high SLA cargo demand through AI-powered dispatch, smart tiering, insurance-backed routing across U.S. corridors.
Holy cow, I can't remember any of that. I'm going to read it a third time. Unlocks a $2.1 billion market connecting idle aircraft, certified pilots, a high SLA cargo demand, through AI-powered dispatch, smart tiering, I wouldn't possibly know what that is, and insurance-backed routing across U.S. corridors. There's a lot that's wrong with this, even though you tell me exactly what this does. Okay, so let me try to unpack quickly because I know we got a lot to cover. If you're saying that we're basically doing smart tiering, we're doing insurance-backed, et cetera, like you're saying that's part of this AI-powered dispatch, you didn't tell me that these things were a problem, did you? Actually, I think I remember insurance, but can we go back?
No, the insurance wasn't here. It was on the cover.
Oh, okay. Right? Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's where I saw it. Okay. Yeah. See, this is a broken problem solution statement. And I want to pause because there's a ton of people in the audience today, and I want you to understand what we're saying here because this is critical for what you're doing. Think of your problem and solution statements as being completely interlocked. Whatever you said is the problem forms the parameters for what you're allowed to talk about on the next slide is the solution. Anything that you didn't say is a problem in the problem slide, you cannot say you've solved in the solution slide. Okay, why is that? Invariably, when you start to talk about stuff you didn't say was a problem, the audience immediately can't make the connection of what you just solved, right? The goal is when the investor reads the solution slide for them to go, holy cow, if someone used this, that would solve that entire problem. But when you start to get into the solution, you talk about a bunch of stuff you never said was a problem or didn't set up for the problem, then I don't understand how adding insurance has anything to do with people losing $22 billion. Also, just in case my eyes deceive me, Ed, can you go back? I saw 2.1 billion and then 22 billion. Are both of us in need of better prescriptions, or did I get that right? Because I want to make sure.
I don't think they're linked. So I think it's costing $22 billion in unmet delivery SLAs, which is confusing. So that's the cost of bad deliveries or lack of insurance. I don't know what that is. And then $2.1 billion market is what they could be making if they added the service. But again, investors are never going to sit down and try and figure this out, everyone. We're doing this as advisors. Investors are going to say, I don't understand it.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. Investors, like, we're done here. So what I want the folks in the audience to know is that your total addressable market on your market size slide, your TAM, is the only number you're going to refer to in the problem or solution slide. Okay. So the problem is going to open up by saying who's the customer. And let's say if you're saying small businesses, if you're saying consumers, spend or lose, usually it's one of the two, your TAM size. So consumers lose $2.1 billion because always open up. That's how every problem statement opens up, because it tells me, the investor, exactly what I need to know. Who's the customer and how much money is on the table. That's all I need to know.
Well,
also need to repeat it in the solution slide.
Let's just simplify it down. Just give an example here. So for me, let's say insurance was the problem. Okay. And I said to you, well, there are 5 million businesses in rural markets that want same day delivery via air freight, but they can't because they're not serviced. Because they don't have insurance, because FedEx and UPS don't have the insurance to fly the planes, leaving $2.1 billion on the table. And then the solution was, we can service all of them with our AI, and we've got an insurance product that solves the problem, allowing them for same-day delivery across 250 to 500 miles or whatever it is, as far as air freight is concerned. That's really janky, but it just basically picks one problem, one solution, matches the two sides of the same coin. Talk about that just for a moment. We ask founders all the time to prioritize. What is the problem? Let's not add, yes, you may solve 6 problems. We get it. But why do we say focus to one on your pitch deck?
Ed, let's play it out. Let's assume you and I were the co-founders of BluWing, this business, and we're going through this exercise. And if you jump me back to the solution slide, the challenge I'd say to you as my co-founder on this would be, hey, Ed, if we can solve the pilot matching or the aircraft matching problem, will it matter whether or not we're good at the insurance part? If we can match the aircraft and pilots, but we can't provide the insurance that we need, this thing doesn't work. In which case I'd say, okay, insurance has to be in there. But the goal here, Ed, as you're saying, is we're trying to focus on what is the single most important part of our product here. We lose by adding more. I'm going to say this again. We lose by adding more. The more things we stack on top of that, the harder it is to comprehend, and the more likely you're not solving the core of the problem.
To be a little pedantic, Will, it'd be different if we're talking and let's say we're brainstorming and you said, there are all these pilots that are ready to go and they want to be matched, but they don't have insurance. I'd be like, all right, insurance is the problem. Let's go solve it. But if they haven't even been matched yet and insurance is just part of the game, that you have to have it anyway, I'd be like, insurance is going to be something that we take for granted, and we'll throw it in there and how it works. We match them with insurance there, but I'm not going to focus on that because that's not the sizzle. That's not what investors are going to say, holy moly, yeah, that is a serious problem. I didn't know how many people needed it. If we can solve this, we're all going to make a lot of money.
And one of our friends in the audience asked, how important is it to have your total addressable market in the problem statement? Because I've got a slide for that, that's got the market size. It's pretty damn important. It's important because as soon as you take the market size out of that problem statement, you lose the weight of the problem. So let me change it for you. Ed, if you'd go back to the problem statement, and what I'll do is I'll do a quick substitute, right? What I'll say is rural markets, yada, yada, costing customers instead of $22 billion, $15,000 per year in lost time and unmet delivery SLAs. I'm literally not going to make it to the next slide. The weight of that problem, the $22 billion, is what gives the problem significance. By not providing the weight and the dollar value of the problem, you're significantly reducing the value of the problem statement.
Let's really hammer this home. To the investor, if there's no weight in the problem, why am I going to pay $1 million or invest $1 million if the problem costs somebody $15,000? Unless there's more money to be made from solving the problem because the pain of the problem is that substantial, then it doesn't make sense for investors to get involved. Right. You might as well just go start a small business. Go ahead. You'll make money, but you won't attract investors.
Agreed.
Let's look at the market size here. And what we're going to do, everyone, is set you up in terms of what a market slide needs to look like. So then when we look at the other decks, you'll say, here's some other examples. So let's
exactly what to look for.
Let's take a look at the market. It's a large and growing market. That's a big headline up top. We got 400, 600 cargo focused, part, SAM, SOM, regional. Let's break this down. What do you see, Will?
400 to 600 cargo focused part 135 operators. What does that mean?
I think that's an insider language term, Will.
Okay. Folks are going to say this. This happens all the time in crypto. They're like, yeah, you guys don't understand it, but the investors I'm sending it to will understand it. Some of them will. But here's where that's going to fail on you every single time. Your assumption is that when you send in the deck, it's immediately going to get reviewed by the subject matter expert on that category. Even Seaplane Ventures or whatever, we sent over. Remember, there's two places this is going to fail. Number one, the first person that reviews your deck is usually the most lowly person in the firm, right? It's an associate of some sort who just got out of college 5 seconds ago. And their job is just to rip through decks to try to figure out of the hundreds and hundreds they're going to get this week, the couple that they should talk to. So if that person has no idea what you're talking about, you're making it very difficult for them to hand it to the person that's more knowledgeable. In nearly every firm, less so with an individual angel investor, they have to have complete unanimous vote on whether they're going to invest in a deal. So let's say one of the partners at the firm is very knowledgeable in a certain type of industry, which is often the case. They still have to be able to convince all their other partners that this is a good deal. So the more complex that deck is, the more only one person can understand it, the harder it is to get that person to socialize it with everyone else. So it always helps to use language that most people can understand. And generally speaking, the simplest answer is always the best. All right.
Let's take a look then.
All right. So regional air cargo is a $22 billion TAM. Great. Love it. Ed, we got Sam and Sam. Do you want to give your explanation for how you would view Sam and Sam?
Right. Sam, serviceable addressable market, is the segment that is best suited for your business, either because of business model, insight, strategic advantage. There has to be a why. So you could say, all right, we're doing this for all concert goers. Concert goers have this massive problem. They get scalped on tickets and they get gouged, etc. But then you could say, we're specifically going to focus on, let's say, rock and roll, because you've got the inroads, or it's how you're best suited. Maybe your business model appeals to rock and roll people or millennials or somebody in a specific market, but there has to be reasoning behind it. And then some is what you can realistically make if everything goes according to plan. And that's, again, realistically. So serviceable, obtainable market. That's your traditional Sam. That does get changed here and there in terms of the approach, but that's what you're looking at as far as Sam.
Your total addressable market cannot be bigger. This is your quick check valve right now. It cannot be bigger than how much an individual customer would spend on a 1-year basis times the number of people that could possibly buy your product. And let me just dig into that for a second. If your average user were spending $10 a month, so $120 a year, you're going to start there. You're going to use that number, and then you're going to simply multiply it by who are all the people that could possibly reasonably buy this, okay? And what that means is when you multiply those two, right? Let's say there's only 10 people times 120, you've got $1,200 in total addressable market. What that means is your business, any business, could never get bigger than $1,200 because that's the maximum buying power for this product. Now, it doesn't mean that's how big you're going to get. It means it's the entire spending ability of the entire market. And that's the market you're going in, and you'll get some piece of it.
Okay. Based on that, Will, that's the reason $22 billion, that's not your TAM. That's the TAM of all regional air cargo. Let's say every regional air cargo company all together, if they service everybody, that's $22 billion. But we're talking about rural. You just established, this founder said it's about rural, servicing that's unmet. That is your TAM. So you have to calculate based on what Will said, how many people in that rural market that don't have access to that you're solving for. That is your TAM. That's the difference.
Yep.
Will, you answer this question just to the panelists here, so I want to make sure that we cover it for everybody. The question was, should you put dollar signs or can you just say billions of users? And you answered and said, it's better to put dollar signs if you can calculate that all out. You want to reiterate on that?
Yeah, so I get it. There's two things you should try to avoid. Don't say 1 in 3 people. Don't say 40% of people. And don't say, I guess it's 3 things. And don't say 3 billion people. What you want to say is, what's the dollar value? Again, you're really just talking about the total addressable market. Because if you were to say we market to 1 billion people, that's fine. But if those people spend $1, or if they spend $10, or if they spend $1,000 in a year, that is a dramatically different market size. Dramatically different. And from an investor standpoint, 3 billion doesn't mean like that. The 3 billion number means nothing to me unless you can translate it to a dollar figure. So if it's a popular one we get is like 1 in 3 Americans. Okay, let's just round it and make it easy and say that there's only 300 million Americans. If it's 1 in 3 Americans, then don't tell me 1 in 3. Tell me it's 100 million Americans. If you know it's 100 million Americans and you know they spend $10 a month, or I'm sorry, $10 a year or $100 a year or whatever the number is, just do the math for me. Don't make me guess at what that number might be. Just tell me. That's all I want to know. How much money's on the table?
Americans spend $100 billion a year on this dumb problem, right? Because it sucks. And I'm being facetious, but it's just very straightforward. Well, let's wrap this up here and jump into other decks. Sam's homicide. We'll walk everybody through in terms of what is the simplest way, again, what you would want to put on the slide to get things started for the introductory founder, the first-time founder trying to create a pitch deck slide like this.
I'll give you the easiest market side slide ever that tells an investor exactly what they want to know. I need to know two things. Number one, where are you starting with the money I'm about to hand you right now? And more importantly, why? The left side of my slide is going to say, here's where I'm starting and here's why. We're starting in South Dakota because it's got the highest demand area, and we live in Brookings, South Dakota, right? Oh, okay, I get it. It's in your backyard. You have connections there, et cetera. That's why you're starting there. That initial market should also be your easiest market, meaning an area that either you have early connections in or people are most likely to be early adopters, et cetera. Because the idea is if I'm going to give you $1 million, and you can't sell to the people that are your most raving potential fans, then it kind of doesn't matter how big the rest of the market is because you couldn't even sell to the layup people, right? So let's start with the layup people. Now, the right side of the slide simply says, hey, if this thing works in Brookings, South Dakota, it's probably going to work elsewhere as well. And that's how big this thing could get. That's it. That's the simple way to do it.
And everybody will literally lay this out for you in video with examples, pictures for all you visual learners in our Startups.com pitch deck bootcamp. And everyone plug. Just go to Will's Pitch Deck Doctor workshop every Wednesday, and he'll explain this to you. And he's got a lot more patience than I do, let me tell you, and we'll walk you through it. Let's answer this super quick question here. It's a good question. How can early stage startups pre-pricing figure this out bottom up? Well, let me take a crack. You can add.
Yeah.
You have to have it figured out before you pitch. Mm-hmm. If you don't know or have any idea what you're going to charge, then you're not ready to pitch an investor. That's what customer interviews are for. That's what battle testing your assumptions. Will they pay for this? Or at least extrapolating information based on what other people are willing to pay and say, we're going to come in 20% on the market because we know we can sneak in there. And you have to extrapolate the numbers. That's how you have to do it, or else you're not ready to talk to serious investors. Will, what do you think?
You don't have to be right. You just need to have an answer. Okay?
Good point.
Now, ideally, your answer would be right, but there's no way you could know in these early stages. And I say this to all of you. There are so many things no one could possibly know. No one knows exactly what the price point's going to be. No one knows exactly how much you're going to pay per customer to acquire them. Okay? No one knows this yet. At this stage, in the formative stages, the first couple of years of our startup, we're just making assumptions. These are placeholders that we're going to spend all of our time trying to test in order to find out what the actual number is. We're going to put a placeholder in. We're going to say it's going to cost us $40 to acquire a customer. And we did a little bit of research. We kind of came to that number. That number might be way off. It could be $4. It could be $400. The point is, this is where we're starting, and we're going to work toward that goal with all the experiments that we do to find out what the actual number is. But this is our starting point. This is our starting target.
Well, it's true. I think it's true that if you got, because I sat on the side of the table writing the checks, analyzing, working with, LPs. If the problem solution and just the size of the market lines in and the assumptions in terms of pricing are wrong, I'll work with the founder. I'll say, let's really take a look at this. If I go, man, that is a painful problem. And we actually do our own calculations as well. If you're the type of founder who's willing to be coachable and look at it, everything's very forgiving if you've clearly communicated problem, solution, how many people are in this market, the potential.
You're not supposed to know the final answer. Being a founder doesn't mean you have ESP, right? Being a founder means this is the number I'm working toward, and I'm good at running the experiments and tests and everything I'm going to do to get toward it. Don't put yourself in a position where the investor is going to need me to know this exact number. You can't possibly know it. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because I was that person for 20 years that thought I was supposed to know the exact number, and I would come to learn later. I was just psyching myself out, and that answer actually doesn't exist.
Perfect. Well, we're going to do a bullet round
all right,
on the rest of these pitch decks. And so here's what I want you to do. I want us to just give one statement of feedback.
Oh, boy.
From an investor's perspective on each of these slides. Okay? We're going to throw it out. We don't have to explain. We just went through all the reasons we're giving the feedback and what these slides should look like. So if you're the founder out there, we're looking at your pitch deck, and you're like, I don't know why you're saying that, just go watch the first part of this video and also ask us. We're more than happy to answer. Okay, here we go. Well, this one I think is raising $150K, I think. Xenoify, trust layer for online course community. Compare, rate, and review creators before you buy. Well, for me, I don't understand it.
For some reason I did. I actually, again, I looked at it quickly before we started recording this. And I was like, oh, I get it. There's probably some shitty courses out there that you need to be able to have some Trustpilot style reviews.
Oh,
And by the way,
interesting.
I might have interpreted that wrong, but that's why we're doing this quickly.
Right. So for me, and helps other founders to know this, when I read trust layer, it means something completely different for me. Continue along.
Great point.
Problem. Buyers are wasting money on low quality info products with no way to vet creators beforehand. Fake credibility, wasted money, no trust layer.
Who are the buyers? You can't say buyers. Buyers only make sense if you already know who the customer is, right? This is a classic founder issue where they know who the customer is. They forgot to tell the audience who the customer is. Fair enough. How many buyers? How much are they spending? And so we need a little bit of that. We talked about that before. But I got to say, I do understand the problem. As a person who creates online content, hopefully good content, there's a lot of bullshit out there, and there's very little way to verify it.
I totally agree with you. Now that I read this, actually all the pieces are there, Will, and you could have easily combined all this in one clear headline statement stating that there are 300,000 people every year who are dissatisfied with the courses they buy online because they can't check credibility and there's no trust with the people giving the course, etc. So I think everything's there. We're just going to massage it a little bit. Solution, a web platform where users can list, rate, and review online courses and communities, build trust, due diligence, one source.
I hate I hate when people say fragmentation's a problem, one source, one stop shop, one whatever. I rarely see instances where that's actually valuable. It's always to me a nice to have because something else is great. Right? Like I don't want to go to a one-stop shop if all the things that they have there to offer are worse than what I'm already doing. Right?
Good point.
In other words, like it only helps if it's one, if all the things are actually better. So I'd like the solution and maybe the problem statement to maybe dig into a little bit more. Like when you say build trust with verified reviews, you just described like every marketplace on the planet.
Right.
Everything from the Apple Store to the Google Play Store to like literally everything. You have to explain how you're doing verified reviews, et cetera, is different or better, or what that verification, why that would mean more. Due diligence, research made easy, assumes I know what any of that means as it relates to your product. You jumped ahead, founder person, and you said, I know what due diligence is. Audience, you must know what it means too. And we don't. We don't know it the way you mean it. So we missed. So that's my thought. What about you, Ed?
I'm in the same boat. This to me doesn't tell me how we're solving the problem in a unique and innovative way other than just doing what everybody else did. Maybe in the problem, if you told me what's broken with reviews of online courses, and then you told me there's a new way to do reviews.
Yeah.
But for me, this is just sort of a generic, I kind of wanted to have it and I'm shoehorning it into a problem, and it doesn't make a strong case for an investor, for me.
I bet there's something deeper and more meaningful here. We just forgot to dig into it quickly. I mean, the founder, as they related to the building pitch deck.
Presented up front. We're not going to get into it because basically you've lost us. And again, we take for granted every founder probably knows their stuff and they're really smart. And I'm sure you've got things figured out, but it's not being presented this way. Let's go for product, for a business, and then we got more learners, etc. And so I'm going to stop the review right there because I'm not trying to penalize any founders, but so clear problem, solution, market. And if you don't get to that, then the investor's not going to get to that. So let's continue and move on here. Pesticide manufacturer. I promised everyone all these pitch decks would be dramatically different. We're not kidding.
I love this. I got to say, Ed, for so many people that are kind of in the tech space, it always cracks me up because they forget the rest of the world exists, right? and they're like, well, how do you raise money? Because you're not, a B2B SaaS company. And I'm like, dude, we see 25,000 companies a month, right? Some tiny fraction are B2B SaaS companies. Like wake up and like drive down your main street and see how many stores are open that are B2B SaaS companies, right? Like pretty myopic.
Yes. For me, this cover is actually really close because I know right away they're a pesticide manufacturer and they're reducing chemical exposure and maximizing efficiency. I like it.
I'm there.
Okay, moving along. Here's the problem. 3 in 4 consumers struggle with pesticide mixing. Globally, there's a whole paragraph there, 60-70%, 40% compensate mixing, results in $1.5 billion a year in unnecessary chemical purchases. Small ready-to-use products cut errors by 90%.
Damn.
I know.
Okay, Ed. Now close your eyes and read it back to me word for word.
Pesticide. That's all I remember, buddy.
All right. So Ed and I do this from time to time. I put Ed on the spot. If someone that read your slide can't close their eyes immediately after they've read it and read some of it back to you or make sense of any of it, you wrote too much. It's one of the easiest memory tests in the world, and it's fairly flawless. If no one can remember what they just read, in almost every case, you said too much or you were going off in too many directions. Kind of the same thing. A great great slide, any of the slides, is one that's just a simple sentence that anyone can remember, and it's easy. This is complicated. Now,
Very.
I don't know that it needs to be.
Yeah.
To be fair, and Ed, you can back me up on this, we've seen countless at this point pitch decks of all layers of complexity, et cetera, like complicated crypto, biotech, you name it. I've never seen a deck that couldn't be condensed, a single slide, into a single sentence. I've never seen one. I've been doing this for a long time.
I think this founder's got to pick what the problem is. Right away, starting off 3 and 4 consumers struggle with pesticide mixing. I have no idea who the consumer is. I don't know why that's an issue. I had to dig in to say $1.5 billion unnecessary chemical purchases. So is it how many people waste $1.5 billion a year because pesticide mixing is hard? I'm lost. You had me on the cover, but then I just kind of went down a rabbit hole. I'm not sure what I'm looking for.
Yeah, this is, I get it. People screw up their mixing. This is way more information than I possibly need. I just need to know that consumers and professionals, let's say, lose 75% of their product to poor mixing, which results in $1.5 billion a year lost. Something like that. This is just a lot of words. Also, and this is just the writer in me, the use of capitals everywhere is driving me nuts because my eyes don't know where to put focus. Use bolding. Use boldface, use italics, use them selectively, and try to put them in the areas where you want the problem to be, right? So it's it's compensate for mixing uncertainty, or it's skipping steps. Give me a simple focus. Conversely, when you do something like this, where you start using caps everywhere, you're making it harder for me to visually digest what the message is, because those caps tell me where there's dominance in the statement, and I don't know because everything's got it. Small, but they add up. They add up. This one's too long, even though I like what they're doing.
There's a solution. Pocket-sized pre-measured pesticides designed for specific sprayers. And they got a whole bunch. Pre-mix solution. They talk about the market size, and they got a whole bunch of bullet points.
No one can digest this. Also, make sure the slide never says the same thing twice, okay? So if we're talking about like it's pre-measured, we can't say we can't say pre-measured again, and that's the very next thing it says. Okay.
Right.
If we say designed for specific sprayers, we cannot say that again. What that means is we're optimizing. We're optimizing. Every word has been said one time for maximum effect. It doesn't matter if this market's already big enough. We don't have to worry about compound annualized growth rates. We could just say, hey, it's already a $5 billion market. How much bigger it's going to get doesn't matter because it's already big enough.
Here's another thing, Will, like pocket size pre-measured, like I don't understand why we need to say pocket size. Pre-measured, pre-mixed, things that can easily go into your sprayer. If that was the problem, mixing, then just say we pre-mix it for you. You know,
Yep.
and we're good to go to me. And yes, everyone, this is the solution slide. You don't have to be talking about the market. That's what another slide is for. So don't conflate everything together just because for some reason you want to overload the slide or put as many points forward.
Right.
Here's the market. Annual market is 115 billion.
Non-ag prone consumers, 30 billion. U.S. non-ag pesticide, 10 billion, 60% of users. Okay, this is starting to get complicated. You don't have to cite your sources on a pitch deck. You don't need citations. You don't need links out to other things. Everyone's going to take your word for it for the time being. If they think you're totally full of shit, they'll ask. Right? But this isn't a research paper. Target of 30% of international non-ag pesticide sales, 9 billion. I have no idea how to process this, Ed. This is a ton of information, but I don't understand the hierarchy. Do you?
And here's the point. I know what they're trying to do, create some type of semblance of logic. Everyone, an investor, no investor is going to go through each line by line and try and make sense of it. You're going to lose them right away. So that's the lesson right there. That's the reason we talk about how to structure a proper slide and talking about the market and how big it is and just being very clean. That's also the reason that Tam Sam Som exists, because this is the problem that people were having, was just getting a very clear understanding of your market segments. I like Will's method for most founders because it just says flat out, here's the market we're going after, here's how many people are in it, and then here's the segment, and here's why. Reduce your slide. You don't have to make it complicated, because everyone, here's the thing, I keep saying it, when you get past screening, introduction, you go into socialization, they meet you, they talk, then they go into due diligence, and that's when everybody digs into the numbers. You don't have to have it in the upfront pitch deck. They'll get there if they understand problem, solution, and the market in a very clear manner. Next one, Will, we're doing good here. This is the last one. Kriyatus, game-driven, project-based learning platform, nurturing tech-based problem-solving skills in teams without spoon-fed instructions. Gaming, woo!
Ideally, let's use one or the other. Game-driven, project-based learning platform. I get it. You're saying what it is, but I like this nurturing tech-based problem-solving skills in teens without spoon-fed instructions.
Yeah.
I like the spoon fed, and I'll say this to everybody listening. Colloquial language where you just use regular words, not like if some of you kind of grew up in the 80s, 90s, old school business speak, right? That language is dead, right? That's like Latin. Like no one talks like that anymore. These aren't professional business presentations where we talk with tented fingers and we have like make big statements. Everyone speaks in these decks, in these presentations, professionally, yes, but we speak to people now. We don't speak to a business facade. And I say this as a guy who wrote that language for decades.
Yeah. Let's look at the problem. STEM e-learning is failing 433 million middle and high school students in gaining real tech-based problem-solving skills because self-paced courses kill motivation, online trainer-led sessions kill experimentation, and offerings in the market rarely go beyond coding or robotics. I resonate with this. I got a kid in STEM. I understand how they're doing it. I've seen the frustration. So right away, it's something resonate. And sometimes you're going to find the investor that resonates with this. There's a lot to like, but it's so dense, and you could definitely simplify this even more.
Yeah, I'll say this: the structure is fairly correct. I think in this case where it's failing 433 million middle and high school students, that's got to be globally, right? Obviously, because it's the population, I think, of North America, which is fine. The other side of it is to say that it's failing them. We're going to say because self-paced courses kill motivation. Like these are the whys. This is like the course of the problem. Ed, you got some experience in this. My kids aren't there yet. Do self-paced courses kill motivation?
They can. It's not explained properly, and this is me diving in. But even beyond that, this is very subjective, and that's one of the big issues with this that I want to point out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. In online trainer-led sessions kill experimentation. Ed, you and I lead online trainer-led sessions. I'm pretty sure we're not killing experimentation. Now, we may be, the opposite, or all the people in our class, like right now, could be like, yeah, you should listen to yourself. I guarantee you're killing something. So what I would say in that case is we have to make sure when we make those claims that they are infallible, right?
Yes.
Because if they're not, and we start saying, yeah, but, then all of a sudden it makes it really hard to protect the next slide.
Explain this a little more, and we'll move on after this. But there's a difference between STEM education failing students in general because of the courses and instructors. My kid's in STEM, and it's definitely not failing him. But
hey, Ed, I just want to make sure you didn't miss this. They are saying e-learning. They're saying specifically e-learning.
Here's the thing.
Okay.
If this is making a claim that the current e-learning solutions aren't getting STEM to the 433 million kids who need to learn coding and robotics, I'm right there. But the mere fact that we're discussing this means this problem statement is not clear.
I'm with you. I think it feels wordy. It feels heavy. Usually a good problem statement, like I can just tell you, having looked at a million of these, is half this length. But I think this is a good place to start. When we talk about building decks, Ed, you and I often talk about, give us your raw clay.
Yes.
Right? And we'll help shape that into a beautiful sculpture. And I think this is a good start. I think it's a good start. At the very least, I can see where they're talking about kill motivation, kill experimentation, and offerings in the market rarely go beyond coding or robotics. Unfortunately, that's a bit of a bifurcation, because if you're saying that e-learning is failing, you're really saying that it's not comprehensive enough. Like it's not broad enough. Those could be different categories, but I don't think it's too bad. Let's see what the solution is. I'm excited to see this.
Kriyatus fosters tech-based problem-solving skills via real-world STEM project building challenges and peer-based learning assessment. A link game incentivizes consistent user effort, unlocking levels, trainer-free, 10x cheaper, offering courses beyond coding and robotics. It does, I can tell they paid attention to our stuff, because it does address everything in the problem and tries to like tick them off.
But that makes it more coherent. You know what's weird though? I see this a lot. I see slides, I should say, that say exactly what they do and yet make me feel like I still don't know what they said. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Or I don't understand why it's special. It's kind of the issue we just had in the last deck when we were talking about reviews. Like, we do product reviews for online courses. Yeah, and like that is what you do. Why is it special, right? Like what about it makes you go, holy shit? Now, can you go back to this solution slide for a second? Link game incentivizes consistent user effort. Okay, like that. Consistent user effort. I might have bolded that actually. By unlocking levels upon project completion. That kind of feels like, I mean, that's gamification obviously, but that kind of feels like what everyone does, but okay. Making it trainer free. I don't know that making it trainer free is better, but I understand the 10x cheaper, but we didn't say that it was a cost issue in the problem, right?
Yes, there's a lot going on. And by the way, I'd love to work on this pitch deck. Once again, just being in STEM education myself, having been a teacher, project-based learning and self-actualization, all that stuff, lot to like. Let's look. This is the market slide. It's pretty complicated. I think we're going to all have the same thing. Immediately, starting right from the top, 1.3 billion adult adolescents who need to learn this. And we never mentioned this before. It's disconnected, disjointed.
Holy cow, that's a lot.
I don't understand where the 28 billion comes from, the 9.5. It's really messy, but the heart is definitely there.
390 million times $72 a year. That would be the right way to do it. Although my spidey senses are off. Was 390 million the number of people we said in the problem statement?
No.
I only looked at it briefly.
It was 433 million are being failed right now.
I think somebody just failed to hit the sync button on those two slides. So that 390 should be whatever that 400. I've been a startup CFO for 25 years.
When Will shared the format that he wanted to see, this slide is attempting to do it. It's talking about the overall in this paragraph, right? And then we plan to target. So it's going with here's how it's big. Here's what we're going to start targeting and put it together. So structurally, the attempt is there, but there's so much going on here.
Too much information. No one has ever looked at a slide and said, I wish they gave me more stats. No, no one has ever said that. We want to say as little as possible with the audience only walking away with the most important facts.
Here's the best part, everyone. We're not going to stop here. We're going to do part 2 with Ryan Rattan, our chief marketing officer, who's all about the communication. And we're going to revisit these decks again, specifically in the go-to-market strategy, how to get you traction. This is just the beginning of the layout. And so once again, it's been great because we really had a chance to focus on problem, solution, and market. Will, based on these pitch decks that you saw and our audience out there, what are the final words? What's the encouragement on what people should do?
There's no way wherever you are with your deck preparation that it's all done. Almost fundamentally, it can't be. So I don't want you to get frustrated. When some of you sit down with me and you say, hey, Will, here's a problem I'm dealing with on the deck. I said, cool, let's look at these adjustments. Come back to me, make it 1% better. What I don't say is come back to me and give me an A+. Number one, because you kind of can't. You got to keep massaging this until you get the answer that you want. It's not like you just weren't smart enough and you couldn't write the whole thing the first time. This is the first product you're going to ship as an entrepreneur, for this company. And it requires lots of research. It requires lots of feedback. And it requires lots of iteration. And that's the point of this, that by the time you get to an investor, you have had lots of reps in this. You've thought it through. All the conditions are top of mind. This is as much about shaping the business as it is preparing you to give this pitch.
My encouragement to all you founders in the audience, step back from your deck. Will said this last week. I thought it was really great advice. Either get a stranger to look at your deck and step back and then just ask them what they see or how they interpret it, but just step outside of yourself, out of your language, and do this exercise. I like to say, what would Will say about this slide? And it will just jog you enough to put all these lessons into practice.
Yep.
And then hopefully you can help other founders do that.
Always pitch somebody that's not you. Literally anyone else, and see if it still resonates.
That's the secret. Everyone, it was great hanging out with you all. Will, as pleasure as always. If you're watching this on YouTube, do the YouTube thing, like, comment, subscribe. Would love to hear from you. Will, I'm going to see you next week.
See you guys. Thanks for your time.